We hebben ook een gesprek gehad met dokter Wale Idris Ajibade. Hij komt ook vanuit Afrika om hier in Suriname eigenlijk te praten op de universiteit over de Afrikaanse visie, maar ook de Afrikaanse identiteit.
It's very exciting to be in Suriname. We have been trying to make this journey for over 13 years to come to Suriname. I know that in the meantime, you've had some people here in Suriname. You've had the president of Ghana in those days, President Rawlings. You had the Otumfuo Osei the only king from Ghana. And you've had some chiefs as well as some of the people here. We have been following this trend, but this is a very, very important journey for African Views Organization members. We have a king from Benin here. We have some professors from universities in the US as well as in Africa. I am here as the executive director. One of the things that we wanted to make sure is that we have a good representation of people of Afro-Surinamese heritage and promote that sentiment of Afro-Surinamese heritage in Suriname. We think it's very important to the survival of the Afro-Surinamese people as well as for the development of Suriname itself, to make sure that the Afro-Surinamese community can produce and perform at the best optimum level. So these are things that are very important for us, and part of that includes the healthy conditions of the Afro-Surinamese people. It also includes the connection of Afro-Surinamese people to Africa. We realize that there is no diplomatic missions here. Africa is completely not represented here in Suriname. And that's a travesty. This is something that we will change. We're working actively on that to make sure that there is direct connection between Suriname and Africa, that there is a trade mission, a consulate that represents several African countries. This is a wonderful, beautiful country. The Surinamese people have a treasure that's in their hearts, and we're very happy that at least Suriname has extended a hand by having a diplomatic mission in Ghana. That's a step forward. However, it's very important to make sure that Africa reciprocate that gesture. Suriname presents a great deal of opportunity, whether as a trading post, as a hub for the entire South American continent. I think that's something that they should make sure that they do quickly before Guyana picks it. So this is it's a fresh opportunity. I see a lot of potential here. So this is why we are here as African Youth.
And if we're talking about the African views, what do you think that we can learn or take from this moment if we're talking about different people that are now here to represent Africa on a different level?
Well, it's very important that African Views is here. African Views embodies a global intelligence of the African community. What we do is the alliance of global African intelligence. So we come very prepared, we come with a robust knowledge of information to help, to support, because the Afro-Surinamese people, or the Surinamese in general are very bright people. We've seen so many wonderful intellectuals here at the ADEC University of Suriname, and this is what we expected. However, we contribute to that body of knowledge. So there's a whole lot to learn here. Yesterday we experienced all the cultures of Suriname presented at Italia Theater. It was amazing, and these are the things that we've been talking about. The possibilities of Afro-Surinamese putting their strengths together is immense, and that's what everybody is talking about. Okay, of course everybody's talking from their own perspective, and we got to make sure that empathy takes precedence than politics. It's very important so that we have a spirit of a nation. And that's so unique. We want the strengths of Asia to come to Suriname through the Javanese and through the Indians and through the Chinese. And we want the strengths of Europe to come here through the Portuguese and the Dutch. And we want the strengths of Africa to come collectively from all the African world to Suriname. So you can see the potential of opportunities that lies here in Suriname. I think Surinamese are just lucky.
And at the first, speaking about the working together as universities, different universities, exchanging knowledge that we had gathered about African people in the world, do you think that we have to put more effort in working together and exchanging that information, that knowledge that is physical but also in the spiritual world?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons again that we're here to make sure that that's the case, that we can partner with the university and make sure that we can open the door to authentic knowledge of a body of information that is perhaps only existing in myth and oral history and things like that that are very, very necessary to the development of African people everywhere. So we are documenting all of that. And I think, again, here in Suriname, especially with the development of the Maroon communities, there's so much there to add to the African Royal Kingdoms. So we have something called, we developed something in African views called the African Royal Kingdoms, which is the alliance of all the African Royal Kingdoms around the world. So you can imagine the body of knowledge that is going to come about from that. And Suriname is not exempted from that. That's the Maroons are very inclusive. We cherish the various Surinamese cultures, and we want to learn from them what they have done, how they've managed to preserve and create new languages from the ancient ancestral language that existed, and all the customs mixed with the Amerindians and mixed with everything else that they could possibly get from the Amazon forest. So you just imagine all of that coming together. The picture is just wonderful, and that. So yeah, this is going to provide a body of network of intellectual education, certification, and all of those things that we're going to be working with the university.
And when we're talking about the African identity, how do we explain that to people that look like us but maybe don't feel like us, of like the African people?
Yeah, so the pressure is very heavy. We know this is exactly what this conference is all about: the impact of of slavery, for instance, and of course indenture servitude. So it's also important to know that Africans too, here in Suriname, suffered under indenture servitude. A lot of people forget that because after slavery, they had to still work for their masters for 10 years. So that's indenture servitude. And they were forced compared to those migrants. And so there's a lot of reasons why people are fatigued about, the pressure of being African. So they don't want to hear it. It's just like, show me the benefits. So we understand that, and it's human. It's natural for people to react that way. But we have made a tremendous leap, a tremendous advancement from where things were in the past. So it's important to begin to re-educate people without having to regurgitate the unnecessary impact of all of this, but to show them the benefits of what has been achieved and the possibilities that lies ahead. That we just need a little more time to get things right. And that's why it's important at this period to make sure everybody is well informed, educated, at least that we have this information available to people, unlike before where there's no information. So here, there are chances to educate children, educate women, educate society about all the potentials about African identity, about their true self, because identity means the health of oneself, the soul. Because when, culture is our natural compass. When we are lost, we turn to culture because culture is what's going to guide us home. Home is ourselves, you see? And that's why it's important to resonate where things come from in Africa, how it is in its original sense, in original form. Not only to compare the authenticity, but also to resonate validation of who we are. And that's important to make a healthy being. In order to make a healthy nation, you need a healthy being. So it's important in Suriname, as well as everywhere else, but Suriname very exemplary in this case, that we nurture the people with opportunity to connect their identity. Okay, so that they can feel full in their humanity and be able to work and prosper, and compete and produce at the optimum level of their capacity, of their human capacity. That's the goal.
And when we're talking about Western scholars, if we go to universities around the world, most of the time you see white people. Most of the time you don't. We can't reflect to scholars from African descent, learning about the culture, learning about who we are as a people. Do you think that we have to make a mind shift with how we look at international scholars from different places?
You know, that's a great question. And it's important to know that First of all, African scholars are very scarce. They're in high demands everywhere. So it's normal that there are not enough of us. So we need more and more scholars. So it has been traditional that many other people from other cultures or races tend to fill into the African space. Since, for instance, African studies. There was a time when African studies started, it was only Europeans that were teaching it. And now you have other people, Indians and so. So it's important for me. If I show up and I want to teach Indian history, people will say, "What's wrong with you?" Not that it is impossible, but it will be a challenge, right? And the same thing with European history. So why is it easy to do that with Africans? And I think not only because of the shortage, it's also because of some distrust. Our people don't want to deal with the academia that has deprived them for so long. So we are changing that gradually. And also our people are interested in authentic knowledge. They're not interested in just academic. They don't want to just write theses on ending and discuss on it. So they want impact. They want things that they can feel and touch, something that they could connect their emotional intelligence to. So this is why it's important to open them up to archaeology, the philosophy of history, and things like that, things that are more impactful, that they actually connect with the real kingdoms in Africa, that kings are coming to give lectures. This is one of the reasons we have kings here, to give lectures so they could hear directly from people like that. So these are the things that interest our people. Then you can see that our pedagogic system is slightly different from what Europeans have established. The Europeans, it's a very old culture in Europe when it comes to, the body of pedagogic systems and so on and so forth. So it's and the same thing in India or China, but you can see that their culture is very important there. So it is what we need to integrate into our educational system to make sure that culture is resonated, that knowledge learned is something that they can implement right away in their community. Not something that's going to make them travel back to Holland and serve the Dutch government or the Dutch system, which is, half of Surinamese people are in the Netherlands. So you can see that people want something that they could, that resonates the environment, that they can do, that they can learn, and that's what we're doing. So this is the direction that we all need to be going, and that's part of the creation of the Afro-Surinamese ideology, and sentiments, and we need to make sure that the Maroons and the so-called Creole people come together without any division whatsoever. It's going to be something that is very healthy for the country.